Hello, dear viewers and friends. Welcome to my channel, Rishita Reads. It's a channel on Jyotish, Vedic Jyotish. Today I will talk about the planet Jupiter, its results in all the various houses of your birth chart, and remedies to make your Jupiter strong. So let's get started. First of all, I would like to tell you what is Jupiter. Jupiter is the most benefic planet in the birth chart or in the solar system. Now, Jupiter has certain significations. So, what are the things that Jupiter signifies? Jupiter is the significator of knowledge, of wisdom, of truth. It is the significator of higher education, of higher learning. So Jupiter is a very important planet. It also signifies growth and expansion. There are certain things which typically, are related to the planet Jupiter, like gold, like the color yellow, turmeric. They're all related to Jupiter. Now friends, I would like to tell you a little more about, before I go to the results and remedies, I would like to tell you about the relationship Jupiter has with the other planets. So Jupiter, as you know, is a planet which is heavy, and it is one of the outer planets like Saturn. Okay, so because it is away from the Earth, so it is referred to as an outer planet, and it does not revolve around the Earth. Okay, it only revolves around the Sun, like Saturn. So the relationship of Jupiter with the other 9 planets, with the other 8 planets in Vedic Jyotish. There are also 3 other planets. They are the extreme outer planets, Uranus, Neptune and Pluto, which are usually not considered in Vedic Jyotish. But today, many astrologers, even in India, many Vedic astrologers are also considering the importance of these 3 outer planets, Uranus, Neptune and Pluto. I too believe that they are important. But anyway, now I will, mention about the relationship Jupiter shares with the other 8 planets. So, Jupiter is a natural friend to Sun, Moon and Mars. Jupiter is neutral to Mercury and Saturn. I'm talking about the natural relationship. And Jupiter is inimical to Rahu. And Jupiter and Ketu, they're actually, I don't believe they are enemies, because Ketu is believed to be a disciple of Jupiter. Ketu follows Jupiter. And Ketu is the planet which signifies salvation or moksha. So, and Jupiter is knowledge and wisdom. So, Ketu and Jupiter usually go hand in hand when you are actually seeking spiritual knowledge in life. So, this is the relationship that Jupiter shares with the other planets in the solar system or in the celestial sphere. Now, after that, I would talk about the aspects of Jupiter in brief. Jupiter in Parashari Jyotish is said to have 3 aspects: the 5th aspect, the 7th aspect and the 9th aspect. 5th aspect is when Jupiter is seated in a particular house. From there, Jupiter will aspect the 5th house, or the planet sitting in the 5th house. So that is called the 5th aspect of Jupiter. Then Jupiter also has 7th aspect, and Jupiter also has 9th aspect. Now, out of these 3 aspects, the ninth aspect of Jupiter is considered to be the most benefic, and the seventh aspect is also benefic, but the second most benefic aspect is the fifth one. First ninth, then fifth, and then seventh, because seventh house, if this is the first house, this is the seventh house. This is the seventh house. Right opposite to the first house is the seventh house. And so seventh house is also considered to be the house of open enemy, or somebody with whom you deal with, like someone you have to face. So it is also the house of open enemy. Besides, there are so many other significations of the seventh house. So this is just one thing that I wanted to mention. So the seventh aspect is will be good. Jupiter will also benefit that particular house, seventh house, or the planet sitting in the seventh house, provided Jupiter is posited well, provided Jupiter is not debilitated. Jupiter is said to be debilitated in Capricorn, but it is not always so, I believe, because Jupiter is said to be debilitated, but debilitated planet doesn't mean something very malefic. No, even a debilitated planet can give you good results, provided Saturn, because Capricorn, Jupiter is said to be debilitated in Capricorn. You have to look at the position of Saturn in your birth chart. So if the position of Saturn in your birth chart is good, then you need not worry about the debilitation. That's what I believe. Now, so like Jupiter, especially Jupiter, if it is aspected by Rahu, or if it is in conjunction with Rahu, then it does not give the kind of results that we expect it to give. There is definitely there is some deficiency in the positive results. It is true. So if Jupiter is not afflicted, then Jupiter's seventh aspect should not harm the seventh house or all the matters related to the seventh house. But if Jupiter is afflicted with Rahu or debilitated, and the position of Saturn is also not good, because Capricorn is the sign of planet Saturn, then the seventh aspect may not give very good results. So let us now go to the results that Jupiter will give if Jupiter is posited in each of the 12 houses. As we know, there are 12 houses in your birth chart. So first, let us see if Jupiter is placed in the first house. If Jupiter is placed in the first house, then the native will be good looking. He may be a little fat. He'll be healthy and a little fat, but he'll be good looking, and he'll have a very he'll have a great personality. People will get drawn to him, especially because of his knowledge, his level of intelligence, his intellectual prowess. Because of that, people will get attracted to him, because the first house represents our personality. It's all about our personality. So if Jupiter is in the first house and it is not badly debilitated, or if it is not weak or afflicted, then you will get these results. If it is afflicted, then as I told you, it will ask the seventh aspect of Jupiter will not be good for your marital life, or even for other matters related to the seventh house, like independent business and so on. Now let us go to, and the fifth aspect of Jupiter will be in the fifth house. So if Jupiter is posited in the first house, the fifth aspect will go to the fifth house. The fifth house is the house of children. It is the house of creativity, the house of higher education. It is the house of education. Fifth house is actually also referred to the house of education. So like you will get good results related to all these matters, pertaining to the 5th house, because Jupiter's aspect will go to the 5th house. And friends, I just wanted to tell you that Jupiter is sitting in the 1st house, or if the 1st house is lorded by Jupiter, that is, if Jupiter has the lordship of the 1st house, then also you will get such results. Because when a planet is sitting in a particular house, then the planet is a tenant in that house. It is not his own house, he is just sitting there. So definitely he will influence the matters of that house, but he is there as a tenant. And if the planet is the lord of that house, how does a planet become the lord of a house? Jupiter has 2 signs, 2 zodiac signs. There are 12 zodiac signs, out of them Sagittarius and Pisces. These are the 2 signs ruled by Jupiter. So if that house is in the sign of Sagittarius or Pisces, then Jupiter is the lord of that house. And Jupiter gets exalted in the sign of Cancer. So if Jupiter is exalted, usually you will get good results, unless it is afflicted by Rahu or Lord Rahu. So now let us go to Jupiter's position in the 2nd house. What happens when Jupiter is placed in the 2nd house? When Jupiter is placed in the 2nd house, there is definitely, wherever Jupiter sits, Jupiter is a planet of expansion and growth, I told you. If Jupiter sits in the 2nd house, or if he is the lord of the 2nd house, then Jupiter will definitely, cast a positive influence on all the matters related to the 2nd house. Your wealth, your possessions, your family. So all these things will be, they will be under the positive influence of Jupiter, provided Jupiter is not afflicted. Then, now from the 2nd house, we go to the 3rd house. If Jupiter is placed in the 3rd house, then 3rd house is the house of your efforts. It is the house of your courage, of your hard work, yes, of perseverance, patience, yes. So if Jupiter is seated there and in good dignity, not afflicted, then definitely Jupiter will enable you to communicate very well. Sometimes it also makes you a little talkative, because 3rd house is the house of communication, and you know so much, or maybe like you have so much of knowledge that you feel like communicating and sharing. So it can do that at times. But yes, from the 3rd house, if Jupiter is seated in the 3rd house, I have seen in many charts that the native may be a professor, maybe a teacher, who communicates his or her knowledge, who actually passes on the knowledge to the students, yes, through any medium of communication. So that is seen from the 3rd house. 3rd house, you can it's mainly the house of communication. So yes, Jupiter will definitely help you in your communication, in all the endeavors pertaining to the 3rd house. It will give you courage also. You can go, maybe you can join the army and other defense forces. Yes, if also Mars is well positioned in your chart, then yes. And if Sun also, then you can join the government and you can join the army and all, because 3rd house is the house of courage. So let us go to Jupiter in the 4th house. Now friends, I am not repeating again and again. If Jupiter is seated in the 4th house, then Jupiter will influence that house. If Jupiter is the lord of the 4th house, then also he will influence the 4th house. Now if Jupiter is seated in the 4th house or in any other house, so from 4th you have to look at the 5th house from the 4th house. So if it is seated in the 4th house, then Jupiter's 5th aspect will fall on 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Jupiter's 5th aspect will fall on the 8th house. And Jupiter's 7th aspect will fall on the 10th house, and Jupiter's 9th aspect will fall on the 12th house. So if it is posited in the 4th house, then it will also influence all these houses: the 8th house, the 10th house and the 12th house. And usually the influence will be positive, because Jupiter is a natural benefit. So now if Jupiter is in the 4th house, 4th house is called Sukh Bhav or Sukh Sthan. It is the place, it is the house of happiness. Yes, it is the house of your family. It is the house of your mother. It is also the house of the primary education. Yes. So if Jupiter is seated, you will get good results pertaining to all these matters. Yes, you will have a good relationship with your mother. You will have a good house. Your house will be spacious. Yes, and you may have you will have a spacious house, and relationship with the mother also will be good, because Jupiter is seated in the 4th house. So all these things Jupiter will give you if it is in the 4th house, or if it is the Lord of the 4th house, then you will definitely find happiness in your home. You will always find happiness no matter where you go. If it is posited or if it is the Lord of the 4th house, then your life will revolve around your family. Yes, because that is the positive influence of Jupiter. Now let us go to the 5th house. Now in the 5th house, Jupiter will give you good results pertaining to higher education. Yes, it's actually the proper education that you, even higher education, which is research and higher education, that is also seen from the 9th house. That is also the house of knowledge and a lot of spiritual knowledge, or even acquiring high degrees. 9th house is also responsible for that. But 5th house also stands for education, for creativity. It stands for your creativity, whatever you create. Yes, if you may like to write something. You may be a good writer, a poet. You may be a painter. Whatever creativity, you may have any kind of creativity. 5th house is also the house of love and romantic relationships. So if Jupiter is seated there, you will get good results pertaining to these matters in your life. If Jupiter is seated in the 6th house, then sometimes it is not considered to be very good, because you may have stomach problems, some issues, some health problems related to digestion, or maybe related to the intestines, stomach, liver. So you may have such issues, health issues, if Jupiter is in the 6th house. So you need to do the remedies of Jupiter so that you remain healthy. But in the 6th house, Jupiter will always bless you, so that you have the courage to stand against your enemies. Your enemies will not be able to harm you. Jupiter will always protect you from them. Yes, but because Jupiter, wherever Jupiter sits, Jupiter is also the house of expansion. So if you are already in debt, so the debt may increase also. So be careful. Don't take loans again and again. If there is a loan, see to it that it is over, and don't take loans again, because otherwise you may find yourself in debt for a long time. So that is one thing. But otherwise Jupiter helps you to fight against your enemies and all that. Then if Jupiter is in the 7th house, and if Jupiter is posited well, then you will have a good marital life. You will also be able to do your own independent business. And if Jupiter is in a good sign, in good dignity, in its own sign or in exalted sign, Then after marriage, usually the native becomes more fortunate. And if Jupiter is in a good sign, then Jupiter's 7th aspect will go to the first house. First house is the house of your health also. Then your health will be good. But if Jupiter is afflicted in the 7th house, then you may have health problems. You may have health problems, you may also have issues pertaining to your marital life. You may have problems in your marital life. So we have to see, Jupiter shouldn't be afflicted in the 7th house. Now let us go to the 8th house. The 8th house is the house of research. Yes, the 8th house is the house of the hidden things. Whatever is hidden, the occult sciences. 8th house is also the house of technology. Yes, so if Jupiter is seated in the 8th house is also referred to the house of transformation. The house that transforms us from one life to another life. We leave this world and then we are born again. That transformation is also seen from the 8th house. 8th house is also the house of longevity. So if Jupiter is in the 8th house, then because Jupiter will expand the matters of the 8th house. So you are supposed to have a long life. If it is in good dignity, a long life, and you will, and also the death, at the time of death, you will have a very, it's said that it's actually when people, like people want to be comfortable, everyone wants to have an easy death. So when Jupiter is in the 8th house, one does not have a difficult time towards the end of one's life. It is one, passes away easily. So that is the 8th house, and Jupiter there will enable you to do research, to study about the occult sciences. You can study about astrology, you can study about other occult sciences. You can also, maybe 8th house also stands for, whatever is hidden, research, going deeper into yourself, doing some sadhana. Yes, that is also 8th house. When you do some, that astral travel, all that is also seen from 8th house. Any kind of sadhana, any kind of, when you want to like it's a sort of any kind of meditation that you want to do, and you want to go deep within yourself. So that is also seen from the 8th house. Now Jupiter is not afflicted there, then Jupiter will give you a long life and an easy, passing away, and it's good. So in 8th house Jupiter gives you a long life. Now in 9th house Jupiter is considered to be good. Or if Jupiter is the lord of the 9th house, higher education, spiritual knowledge it can give you. 9th house is the house of dharma. So it will make you very dutiful, yes, very religious, dutiful. So in 9th house Jupiter will give you good results, good relationship with your father. Now after the 9th house, let us go to the 10th house. In the 10th house, Jupiter will give you good results pertaining to your career. But in the Kalpurush Kundli, the 10th house is ruled by Capricorn. And Capricorn is said to be the sign of debilitation of Jupiter. And Capricorn is, the 10th house in the Kalpurush Kundli belongs to Lord Saturn. So there you have to if Jupiter is posited there, then you also have to believe in karma. You have to believe in karma. Only then you can rise in your profession. Karma means you have to believe in just your work, hard work. If you think that if Jupiter is posited in the 10th house and you are giving advice to people, that you can do if Jupiter is in the 9th house. 9th house is the house of counseling, to like believe in your work, and then only you can rise in profession. Jupiter gets exalted in Cancer. Cancer is ruled by Moon. So, and Moon is nothing but emotions. So you cannot be emotional here, especially in your workplace. You have to be very, very practical, just do your work, and then Jupiter in 10th house will help you to rise in your career and do well. Then Jupiter in the 11th house. Jupiter in the 11th house, if it is well posited and if it is not afflicted, then Jupiter in the 11th house will give you good results. It will, because 11th house is the house of gains, and it's a Upachaya house which grows with time. So you will definitely be able to gain prosperity. Jupiter is not just about gaining liquid cash. That is represented by the planet Venus, and then there is boundless cash, that is also Lord Rahu. But Jupiter stands more for prosperity. Wealth also, yes, it stands for assets, but it stands mainly for prosperity. You may not have so much of money, but you will always feel that you are rich, you are prosperous. That's what Jupiter makes you feel when it is in the 11th house or when it is well posited in your chart. You will always feel that you are, like you are blessed, that you are prosperous. And in 11th house, you will also have a good relationship in your with people in your social circle, if Jupiter is well posited and not afflicted. And like Jupiter will, your elder brothers and elder sisters, with them, with your elder brothers and all, that is the 11th house. So there, with them also you will have a good relationship in your social circle also. So that is the 11th house, and so that you have to, like just now I said, Jupiter gives you prosperity. Even if you may not actually have a lot of money, but Jupiter will bless you in such a way that you will always feel that, oh yes, I have everything. That sense of satisfaction, that will always be there. If that is there, that means Jupiter is good in your chart. If you are always unhappy, if you are always dissatisfied in spite of the fact that you are leading a decent life, then Jupiter in your chart is not well posited. Or maybe whatever be the position of Jupiter in your chart, the position will get deteriorated over time, because we spoil our own planets by our actions. At the time of the birth, everything is not predetermined. We can change also our own, we can mold things as we grow or as we, age. We can do that with the help of our karmas, our actions. It is possible. So that is what, like, that will not help you actually. You have to be, that sense of satisfaction should be there. If it is not there, then Jupiter is not well posited. Then Jupiter is weak in your chart. There are some people who have so much of money, but they'll always keep complaining. That is the sign of a weak Jupiter. Okay, now let us go to Jupiter in the 12th house. In the 12th house, Jupiter will give you good results, because after all, in the Kalpurush Kundli, the 12th house is ruled by the Jupiter himself, because that is the sign of Pisces. That is Jupiter's own sign. So in the 12th house, if you have Jupiter, it makes you very spiritual. Yes, and 12th house is the house of losses. So you will know how to spend your money carefully so that you don't suffer from loss. It will save you from losses. If Jupiter is well posited again, then only. And it will, give you an inclination towards, spiritual knowledge. yes, towards social service, 12th house. Now, these are the results of Jupiter in all the houses. Now I'll talk about the remedies. What can you do to make your Jupiter strong? What can you do? Now, the first thing that I want to tell you is that Jupiter stands for gold. Don't sell gold unless and until it is a life and death situation. Don't sell your gold, or don't, take loan by, depositing it somewhere in a bank and taking a loan. Don't do that. Don't sell your gold unless it is very necessary. And if you happen to lose your gold, if somebody steals gold from you, that is also an indication that Jupiter is, getting afflicted. Maybe your own actions are afflicting Jupiter. So what are these actions? Jupiter also represents priests, saints, knowledgeable people, teachers, gurus, aged people who are knowledgeable, whoever they may be. Aged people in the family who are knowledgeable, in your society, because their experience has made them knowledgeable. Always respect them, look after them, never hurt their feelings, especially your gurus, your teachers, never hurt them. If you do so, Jupiter will become weak, no matter how well it is placed in your chart. And there is no need to even look at your chart. If you are doing that, then your Jupiter will definitely become weak. So that is the first remedy. Parents are also our gurus, so respecting our parents, looking after them, very important. That is the best remedy for Jupiter. Grandparents, all elderly people. Next, knowledge. Try to acquire knowledge, because Jupiter represents knowledge. Acquire knowledge by reading books, by reading articles on the internet, maybe even by watching videos. Acquire knowledge, because Jupiter is a significator of knowledge. Knowledge and wisdom. If you are, keen on knowing more about a certain subject, so that means your Jupiter is going to be strong in your chart. That is a good remedy. Now, books and other things which are related to education, like, books, pencil, pen, eraser, sharpener, whatever, all these things, especially books. Try to donate books to those children who are unprivileged, maybe who can't afford to buy. That is a very good remedy for Jupiter. Then, if you are knowledgeable, don't be arrogant. If you turn arrogant, if you are very proud, then Jupiter will become weak in your chart. Jupiter will become weak for you, no matter how it is placed. The influence of Jupiter will not be good then. If you are very arrogant, if you are very proud of what you know, or what you possess, what you have, never be proud. That is also one more remedy. You have to be humble, grounded. The more you learn, the more humble you become. That is very important. Being humble. Yes, being polite. Then be generous. Be generous. There is joy in giving. Jupiter is called the Dev Guru. Dev Guru means Devta, Guruon ke Devta. He is the Guruon ke Devta, Guruon ke Guru. Sorry, I am so sorry. Devtaon ke Guru. That is why Dev Guru. Devtaon ke Guru. So Devta means one who gives. Devta, one who gives. So try to, if you have knowledge, try to share it with others. Yes, and never be proud of it. Be generous in helping others, be helpful, then Jupiter will improve. Then one more remedy is also important. You can have, before going to sleep, you can have a glass of milk with a little bit of turmeric in it, provided you are not allergic to milk. That is a very good remedy for Jupiter, because milk represents moon and turmeric Jupiter. So Jupiter and moon come together. Moon is your mind. It gives you a strong mind, yes, and also it makes you knowledgeable, because now Jupiter and moon, they are coming together. So have that before going to bed if you can, or maybe you can have it for breakfast. Add a little bit of turmeric into your glass of milk or cup of milk. That is also a very good remedy for Jupiter. You can wear yellow color, yellow dress on Thursdays, provided Jupiter is well posited in your chart. It is not in the 6th or 8th house, then you can do it. And if it is in the 6th or 8th house, then you can wear off-white color or cream color, light colors. Otherwise, you can wear bright yellow colors. If Jupiter is in Capricorn, which is debilitation, then also better you wear cream colors or light colors. That you can do. That is a good remedy. Wearing yellow. Yes. Wear a gold chain if you can afford, or any chain which is golden in color. Any imitation chain which is golden in color, wear it round your neck. And wear a gold ring or a ring that is golden in color on your index finger. That is also a good remedy for Jupiter. So all these remedies we can do, and we can improve Jupiter, our Jupiter. And also the gemstone for Jupiter is yellow sapphire, which is called Pukhraj. So yellow sapphire also you can wear, but for whether you can wear it or not, for that you need to look into your chart. I mean, one has to analyze your chart. If Jupiter is in a good sign, is in the sign of his friend, or if Jupiter is in his own sign, exalted sign, in good houses, in Kendra or Trikon houses, then you can wear. Otherwise, better not to wear the gemstone, because if it is in a good house, then it will become stronger and give you better things. But if it is not well posited and you wear that stone, then you will get worse results. Then you should not wear the stone. So if it is not well posited in your chart also, there is nothing to worry. There is a best remedy. Visit places of worship, whether it is a temple, whether it is a mosque, whether it is a church, Gurudwara. You go to places of worship whenever it's possible for you. Pray to God. By whatever name you may call God or the Almighty, pray to him or her. Yes, and that prayer, chanting the name of the Lord, that will definitely make your Jupiter very strong and give you beneficial results always. So with all my best wishes, I end the video here. Please subscribe to my channel and like the video if you have liked it, and see you next time. Thank you.